What's going on, guys? Welcome back. Before I get into this video, I want to do another shameless plug again. Go to the leagueofpirates.com, show them some love. You can get you a cool sweatshirt like this to go with a cool flag like that. I'm just saying. These are ridiculously comfortable, by the way. Alright, so shameless plugs out of the way. Hang on a second, that's a sign. Alright. Shameless plugs out of the way. We got to get serious for a minute. In case you haven't noticed, there's a storm coming. And I feel like that it's going to be a big one. Like full-blown Cat 5 hurricane, direct hit, no weakening, blows all the records, etc. Now, I pray I'm wrong. I will be quite content to be wrong. But I'm feeling pretty strong that that storm's coming. And the problem with that storm that's coming, the fight that's coming, is right now looking over things, I don't think we're going to win it. And by we, this is part of the problem, I can't say we as in our side because we don't have a side. You've got a whole bunch of, you've got the SOCOMs, and then a whole bunch of different people and groups and entities that are against them. But you notice something there? You've got the SOCOMs, and then all the different groups and entities that are against them. I'll let you see if you can figure out that difference. If you haven't figured it out yet, we are not on the same page. We are not on the same side. We are not unified. I don't know if you watched the debates the other night, but towards the end, Bernie Sanders made a comment that, and forgive me, I can't quote it verbatim, but basically he said something to the effect of, regardless of who on that stage wins the nomination, one thing is for certain, they will all rally behind that person in unity to defeat Donald Trump, and by extension to defeat the right, conservatives, etc. And that's something the Democrats have always done. Well, excuse me, Democrats used to do, and now the SOCOMs do. They will rally behind each other. They will rally together. No matter how much they may dislike each other, or whatever. Look at how Bernie got stabbed in the back last election, and it was discovered afterwards that he got screwed. And he still backs the party, toes the party line, even though he's really a diehard socialist. He toes the line and is right there with them. We don't have that on our side. The non-SOCOM side, because we don't have a side. There's the SOCOMs, and then there's all these different people who are against them, like I said. There are still senators and congressmen to this day that don't like Donald Trump, that won't join with the party to vote on things, that'll break ranks, that will go against him at every turn, that go against the wishes of the people that elected him at every turn. Now, I'm not saying we should do that or that they should do that. I like independent thinkers. I want people that are going to go up there and preferably not toe a party line except when it's absolutely necessary. And I know that may ruffle some feathers, but certain occasions, there's times you have to go with the party depending on the situation. And that's the thing. I want them to look at each situation individually. That said, and I know that may sound a little contradictory, but whatever. If you get it, you get it. You see, the fight's coming regardless. Just look at current events. Look at what's going on in various states around the country. And people on the right, and I'm going to use that term loosely and all-inclusive because I can't keep saying all the other groups. Let's just look at the Second Amendment alone and gun ownership alone. Let's not even worry about any of the other issues, and there's plenty of issues to worry about. Gun owners will spend enormous amounts of time, energy, focus, etc. to argue about what's better, an AR or an AK, 9mm or 45, this brand versus that brand, etc. And very little time focusing on productive things. But they'll argue that stuff till they're blue in the face. People are absolutely unwilling to accept maybe, just maybe, they're going on preconceived notions that aren't necessarily accurate. Maybe they're wrong on something. Maybe, just maybe, there's not one correct answer to various questions. Maybe the correct answer is multiple different things, and they're all equally correct. It's like looking at a pine tree outside. You got one handful of people that are going to look at a pine tree and say, oh, it's green. And then another handful are going to look at it and say, oh, no, it's brown. Because one group's looking at the pine needles, the other group's looking at the bark on the trunk. How about maybe they're both right? Maybe it's green and it's brown. Neither side's wrong. The problem is they can't admit that the other side is equally right and join together and say, hey, it's green and brown. People won't do it. They absolutely won't do it. Let me use this as an example. Recent video I did on ARs and AKs. That video was posted and reshared a couple of different places. And I went to all the different places that I know of that it was shared and looked at the comments. 90 plus, probably closer to 95%, 90 to 95% of the comments total from all the different places it was shared, the people didn't even watch the video. They only felt the urge to spout their voice vehemently and adamantly about which one was better and why. Never mind that in that video, had they actually watched it, all the points that most of them were using, I shot down on both sides. But it was obvious they didn't even watch it. They can't take the time out of their day to watch. I had somebody comment on YouTube on the video that they were 3 minutes into it, and then they put a bunch of Z's and get to the point already. I'm sorry, people. if you're here watching my videos, they are intended for those with an IQ level higher than that of an armadillo. If yours is below that, my channel's not for you. That's fine. Go somewhere else. It will not hurt my feelings, and actually I would prefer you did so that you don't make asinine comments. But they can't devote a little bit of time to actual cognitive thinking. I guess thinking is hard, maybe. I don't know. But they can't do it. They would rather argue about the crap. It blows my mind. Those same people will spend tons of time ragging on, and I'm sure if you've been anywhere on social media, you've seen this, the poors, because of people that can't or won't go drop thousands of dollars on somebody else's pet name brand high-end gun. You know what? Screw all that BS. I'm sorry if you don't like it. I'm sorry if you have to find some way to self-justify your expensive purchase and now you're having buyer's remorse because it's suddenly become evident that you could have got an equally good weapon for far less money. And so to self-justify that, now you have to go out and try to bag on others. I'm sorry if you feel that way, but you know what? Either man up and deal with it or get bent. I mean, that's just as simple as it is. People can't admit that lower cost defensive weapons can be had and are out there and are perfectly viable. But again, they'll spend countless amounts of time and energy arguing that point and trying to belittle people. Openly trying to belittle people and discourage them. They would rather see people unarmed because they can't afford what they consider a top-tier weapon than to encourage them to get a lower-tier weapon that works, that they can afford, and be adequately armed, and then encourage them to get out and train with it. They would rather they were unarmed than to break down and encourage them to do that. That's exactly what it equates to, and you people that do it, you know it. You won't admit it, but you know it. And that leads into the other point. People won't train. People will not train. I've got a number of friends that are all instructors. And that's one of the biggest things I see and hear from them. They have a hard time filling classes. And most of the time, pretty much every class they run is filled with multiple repeat students. So it's the same people training over and over again. Very rarely do they get a class that's predominantly new people. It blows my mind. People won't spend the money to get out there and train. When they do, too many of them are focused on the latest and greatest cool guy square range training that they can make really cool Instagram videos for and show off to their buddies and, you know, be a member of the KKK, otherwise known as the Cool Kid Club, trademarked. They don't have any interest in real world training. When you ask guys to suddenly go do, and I'm just going to use this as a point. There's lots of examples I could use, but I can't sit here and give you 3 hours worth of examples. But my buddy Brushbeater, his scout course, that's a very low round count class. 200 rounds maybe for 2.5 days worth of training. But people won't go do it because it's not standing around the range blasting away working on split times on stationary targets while they stand perfectly still. It actually involves stalking around through the woods, crawling through the bushes and the dirt and the mud, getting your gun and yourself dirty and sweaty or cold and wet, taxing muscles because you're using them in a manner that you're not used to using them on that square range practice in your split times. Developing cognitive skills of all the different things you got to do to accomplish a mission, like mental control, physical control, moving through the woods quietly when your muscles are hurting. So many different things, but it's actual useful, applicable stuff because it's really a lot closer to how you're going to fight as an armed citizen in the real world should things go south, God forbid, than standing on a square range 5 yards from a stationary target and you standing stationary still. Your split times won't mean jack crap then. I'm not saying it's not important to work on that kind of stuff. I'm saying that's where people stop. That's all they worry about. And then they'll go so far as to belittle those that do the stuff I just mentioned. People don't have any interest in learning about communications, how to effectively communicate as a team with family, friends, whoever your team ends up being. They won't even try to make a team now before things go bad because they don't think they're going to need one. They'll belittle those who do. I've seen it. They don't have any interest in learning how to develop intelligence about their area, about potential threats. Oftentimes those that do, and this is another problem, focus far too much on coming at things with a military mindset, okay? We aren't the military. We're not going to be the military. We're not going to operate and function like a military. If anything, it's going to be far closer to what guerrillas would do. Far, far closer to that. You've got to get out of that hardcore military mindset. You can draw things from the military, but then it has to be adapted to the situation. Big YouTube channels. And yes, I'm going on here. Sorry, you should have had a full cup of this before you got here. Well, sorry, not sorry. Big YouTube channels. I know none of them watch me. I know that they don't have an interest in me, what I'm saying. And that's fine. But all the big YouTube channels that I check out and sometimes watch, other than one big one, all the other big ones never mention training. If they do, it's in a very, very passing context, like barely even notable. They do not talk about it. So what does that tell you? Sadly, I think a bunch of them fall into that sport and hobby mindset, which, as I've told you before, that's screwing us and they're doing all of us a disservice. Because sport and hobby have got nothing to do with the Second Amendment and firearms ownership, but they keep touting it over and over again, and they're just giving ammunition to the other side. That's how we got the sporting clause. Go look it up. We are too divisive on our side. And I'm just talking about Second Amendment gun-related stuff. We won't even get into the myriad of other things. The one thing that the SOCOMs have always had, even back when they used to be Democrats, they get unified. When it's time to go after something and to fight what they perceive as the enemy, they come together. They straight up come together, and they'll do their infighting behind the scenes. They'll still try to each get, whatever their particular group or side's wanting. But when it comes time to line up, they line up shoulder to shoulder. Our side won't do it. They absolutely refuse to do it. My best friend works in the political arena. And just on the politics side of it, he sees the exact same thing. People on the right, conservatives, etc., won't come together when it's time to. They won't get unified. The other side's playing the long game. We're playing the short game, and we think that because the other side didn't win, that equates a victory for us, and we can, okay, we won, we can go home. And before we've even turned off the lights and locked the door, the other side's already trying to figure out how to come back and win again. They never stop. They never ever stop on any level. At any level. We can't stop at any level. The political side, or put it in the box section. We can't stop on the ballot box side, the soapbox side, and especially the cartridge box side. We got to keep all of those going all the time. I know this is a rant, and I don't apologize for it in the least, because people have got to get woke up. We are, in my opinion, past the point of no return. I honestly think that the die has been cast. We've crossed that line that there's no going back from, and there will be a fight coming. Now, that does not mean you stop. It doesn't mean you don't continue seeking ways to prevent it from coming, i.e., you have to continue voting, you have to continue being active, you have to continue to go after things, if for no other reason, and this shouldn't be your only reason, but to forestall it as long as possible, to give yourself as much time as possible to get ready for it. But then maybe we'll get lucky and have a miracle and make things so that it doesn't happen. But folks have better start getting serious because of what's coming. You've got to start getting serious. I don't see how we're going to get people all on the same page. I really don't. And it'll take somebody far smarter than me to offer solutions to figure that out. I know what the problem is, but apparently I'm not smart enough to figure out a solution to the problem. So maybe somebody will watch this and be able to figure that out. If you actually made it this far, then thank you. I appreciate you at least listening, because unfortunately there's plenty of folks that won't even make it this far in the video because they won't listen. I'm not talking about folks that don't have physical time to because of various reasons. I'm talking about those who just have the attention span of a freaking gnat, which is a lot of people. So, as I tell you in every video now, go train. Go train in something. And then after you get training on it, practice it. It could be a class in how to cook in a Dutch oven over a outdoor fire. Go take a class on how to do that and come home and practice it. Go take a class on communications. Go take a class on various levels of firearms training. Go train and then come home and practice it and then go train some more. I cannot stress that enough. Get ready, folks. I will go to bed tonight and do the same thing that I do every night, and I will pray to God above that the things that I see in my mind coming do not come, and that I am 100% wrong. But in the meantime, I'm also going to be praying that He will give me the insight and the ability to train and get ready for them. So I'll leave you with that in hopes that you'll do the same. Take care, be safe, get trained. I'll see you in another one.